Transformers were always about robots in disguise and more than meets the eye.
Michael Bay was born to direct Transformers. He was the perfect fit for this concept.
Something in Transformers just struck me when I was sitting there. I said to myself, if you can make this really real and edgy...
Bumblebee, stop lubricating the man.
Get that thing to stop, huh?
And I'm like, that's really interesting. So I think right then and there, I was kind of sold on trying to make this idea work.
Love him or hate him, Michael Bay is a prominent figure in Hollywood, from his over-stylistic filmmaking to profiting off of garbage. He knows the game and he's playing it very well, all too well. But his upsurge to fame began 15 years ago. God damn it, 15 years. I'm getting old. As a young boy from Toronto, Canada, waking up on Saturday mornings and tuning into Teletoon Retro and watching Transformers G1 was my cup of tea. Now I was very young, so I had no complete understanding on what the hell was going on, or what the story was. I was just fascinated seeing robots clash, pew pop, boom, it was fucking awesome.
Yesterday's model, ready for the scrap heap.
Now as I got older, I began to understand the story, the characters' motivations, and whatnot. Although I was 20 plus years late to the party, I began to realize why people love Transformers, why it has become an icon in the world of entertainment. And I understood the outrage fans had over the production of the first ever live-action Transformers movie.
You lied to us.
Yeah, fans hated what Michael Bay was doing to their beloved characters during production. Michael Bay, when creating this movie, he thought G1 was a childish, stupid, made for kids, horseshit that had no correlation with his style.
I'm not doing that movie. That's what I said to myself. I'm not doing a toy movie.
But one day, the brave man known as Michael Bay thought to himself, what if I Bayified the Transformers? And so he did.
You feeling lucky, punk?
Obviously, when there's something exciting going on, hackers, or in other words, internet rodents, decided to leak numerous robot designs that the team was working on. And everyone wanted Michael Bay's head.
And then the few little talkbacks where they said they want to hunt me down and kill me. I had a couple of those, but...
There was even outraged G1 fans that worked on this movie. Like, imagine this guy, watching Michael Bay shatter everything you love, turning Megatron into whatever the fuck this is supposed to be. Like, what the fuck is that? This is clearly not G1 inspired at all, and I'd be pretty pissed off too, but surprisingly Michael Bay out of all directors took criticism. He had the courage and balls to change them. Now they still don't look like their G1 counterparts, cause Starscream looks like a Dorito with a tarantula face, instead of his iconic red and blue colors. Although I've learned to accept these designs and quite frankly got used to them, I wanted to know why Michael Bay brushed the G1 aesthetic out of these iconic characters and taking the risk of potentially having angry fans whip out their pitchfork and knives. Upon rewatching the behind the scenes, Michael Bay's approach for these controversial designs was it had to fit the real world. The designs had to be more complex. Now this might be a hot take, but I don't see the G1 designs being suitable for the tone Michael Bay's approaching. Robots in disguise. Let's take this scene with Starscream. I can't picture a bright red blue fighter jet trying to be stealthy amongst other F-22s. Defeats the whole purpose of robots in disguise. Well, the first teaser dropped and it was the most downloaded trailer during that time, according to Michael Bay himself. Despite the backlash the team behind Transformers received, fans were still drooling over the crispy clean effects and how realistic the robots looked. Remember, this is 2007. This was before Avatar and CGI wasn't heavily popularized during that time. So consumers weren't exposed enough to the absolute power it possesses. And Transformers was the first taste on what it's capable of. Now, I'm not going to discredit George Lucas whatsoever, he definitely pioneered special effects, but Transformers excelled. To the point a 15-year-old movie puts current blockbusters to shame. Marvel. Movie was a hit, it slightly made over $700 million, and Paramount created 4 more tragedies right after. But enough for me, let's go over the plot and find its strengths and weaknesses. The plot for Transformers is your typical boy meets another life form and they become best friends and must fight against all odds to defeat the enemy. If you've seen E.T. or The Iron Giant, you'll pretty much recognize the plot of Transformers. A premise that has been used multiple times and will continue to be used in the future because Hollywood is running out of ideas. The cube, also referred to as the Allspark, possesses the ability to create life and worlds. God, I really hope this doesn't get retconned 10 years later.
I am Quintessa, the prime of life.
The cube lands on Earth alongside Megatron, who was after the Allspark. Now, the movie doesn't explain how the Allspark was lost during the war on Cybertron, but with these movies you can only expect questions, more questions, and well, eventually more questions, to the point your brain will probably eventually give up and internally explode. The military base is attacked by a Decepticon named Blackout and completely eradicates the goddamn base. See, the Decepticons are on Earth to seek the Allspark and use it to build an entire army capable of destroying planets, while the Autobots want to use it to repair their damaged planet, and the only lead they have are coordinates on great-great-grandpa's glasses. For some reason, still exists 100 plus years later. Goddamn, how lucky are the Autobots and Decepticons that the most important and memorable piece of Grandpa was his glasses. So happens to have the coordinates to the GameCube, I mean the Allspark. This is where we meet Sam Witwicky, who's a nerdy teen in high school who's trying to get a fancy car so he can bang Megan Fox. No joke, that's his character. He posts his great-great-grandfather's glasses on eBay and now everyone is after him. But don't worry, his guardian Bumblebee is his protector and gives the Autobots a free invitation to crash land on Earth and potentially kill humans in the process. Oh well. Apparently the Autobots were able to acquire the information about the glasses through eBay. This film has some serious eBay propaganda. The Autobots managed to enter Sam's backyard without making a single sound, cause Sam's parents and the entire neighborhood are completely deaf apparently.
The parents are very irritating. Can I take them out?
Sam tries to find the glasses, but that search is immediately cut short cause Sector 7 decides to kidnap Sam and his parents for harboring Transformers. But look at that, Optimus comes to the rescue and puts his fucking leg that probably weighs 10 tons in front of a moving vehicle filled with kids that he's wholeheartedly trying to protect. Not a good look. The Autobots fail to protect them anyway, and Sam and Michaela prove they are made of titanium. Bumblebee gets captured and Optimus refuses to help Bumblebee, cause apparently Bumblebee dreamt of this very moment getting surrounded and getting chained up by hundreds of dudes. He also further notes there is no way of freeing Bumblebee without harming the humans, yet he places his megaton foot in front of a fucking car on a highway. Very inconsistent morals. The Allspark is hidden under Hoover Dam, so is Megatron, who's been frozen for a very long time. Lucky for the Decepticons, the two MacGuffins they're looking for happen to be in the same area. The military are aware of this, and their entire plan is to take the cube to a highly populated area so Michael Bay can perform his Bayham. Screw civilian casualties, I want to see Ironhide doing cartwheels over random models. Explosions. Lots and lots of explosions.
Did somebody say boom?
Megatron is absolutely owning the Autobots, demonstrating the sheer power he possesses, and he rips Jazz in half.
You want a piece of me? You want a piece? No! I want two!
And man, he is one small Autobot compared to Megatron, but at least he went out like a badass before he got ripped in half. When all hope is lost, Optimus always seems to arrive at the most convenient time and squares off with Megatron, after shoving his sword up a Decepticon's face and acting like nothing happened. Wow, I can only imagine G1 fans watching their childhood hero become a psychotic killer that only escalates each film. I could only imagine the trauma. Megatron and Optimus go at it with each other, and Optimus gets absolutely manhandled, and I mean he had no offensive advantage at all during the fight. This Megatron means business. Sam is doing parkour throughout Mission City, the Allspark is getting tossed around bringing blatant product placements to life. The military are throwing everything they have at Megatron, but he's one tough son of a gun. Optimus screams at Sam to shove the cube into his chest, but Sam, being much smarter than Optimus, decides to shove the Allspark into Megatron and killing him for good. Let's hope. You're probably wondering, like I am, why wasn't this the original plan? It's like killing two birds with one stone. The Allspark is destroyed and Megatron is destroyed. Looks like a genius plan. But wait, don't the Autobots want to revive their home planet? I feel like that was the original plan, while Megatron wants to use it for creating a massive army to conquer planets, like it was a game of Risk but on a larger scale. Oh wait, Earth is their new home. This should end very, very well for them. The Decepticons are defeated, everyone is happy, Sector 7 has been terminated, a pretty bold move considering they carry information in regards to Transformers and anything that's extraterrestrial, which in my honest opinion isn't a good decision because they can come in handy anytime in the future.
I forged S7's crown jewel over 75 years of alien.
Sam and Michaela make out on the top of Bumblebee in front of all the Autobots, a pretty bizarre place to do it. I could only imagine what Bumblebee's going through, the sheer pain he must be feeling. And Optimus does a heroic speech, sends a free invite to the other Autobots to come and chill on Earth. God forbid this becomes part of a long exposition piece in the next one. What is there to say about Transformers? It's an iconic film that has been etched into our brains for its goofy yet surprisingly a good story behind it. It's like a Spielberg story with that Michael Bay flavor that everyone seems to dislike or have a mixed feeling on. Now there's a legitimate reason why this film is not beyond a 7 out of 10, and it has to do with one man. His name is Michael Bay. Michael Bay is a more technical director. He loves the camera and the camera loves him. He's known for pushing boundaries, trying something new, and making sure it's perfect before release. Storytelling is more of a second thought for him, which is a shame for a franchise like Transformers, because there's a genuine rich story behind this IP. From games to the comics, Transformers can be a serious competitor. Obviously that would only work if you have a competent writer and a director behind it. And all Transformers fans like myself can hope for is that Bumblebee takes this franchise into a direction where it's serious about its story. Let's talk about the good stuff. The story is pretty straightforward for the most part. There are fuck ups along the way, but it's not to the point where it drastically damages the plot and its characters. The story feels like something Spielberg would write, but sadly it's riddled with the Michael Bay flavor. It's also not surprising that it feels like a Spielberg story, since Spielberg was the one who pitched the idea of it surrounding a boy and his car. Dude gets a car, it turns out to be a Transformer, they become best friends, and they fight evil and all obstacles until the big bad guy is defeated. The Decepticons are an actual threat. From the moment Black Hawk attacks the base, you know these guys mean business. They're durable, clever, and they're truly intimidating. Megatron isn't in this movie a whole lot, and I actually like that. The movie decides to play around with his name of him being this truly deceitful, powerful Transformer. To the point even all the Autobots are afraid of him, even Optimus Prime.
Megatron, retreat! Move! Fall back!
Who gets his ass handed to him for the majority of their fight. During the Battle of Mission City, the army and the Autobots are struggling to fight off the Decepticons. The military's weapons fail to register heavy inflicting damage on their armor. You even have Lennox making comments on how tough their durability is.
Sir, that tank thing's getting back up. These things just don't die.
It builds tension, it puts the protagonist on the edge of defeat, makes the audience feel invested in this entire battle. What is there actually to mention about the effects that hasn't been said? It's groundbreaking, it pushed the limits, and surprisingly holds up very well today. Surprisingly, it's still better than probably 90% of films that use heavy on CGI nowadays. Now onto the bad. Yeah, the movie's got problems. Way too many subplots. A subplot is basically side conflicts that eventually merge in with the main conflict near the end. They're not bad, they're actually very useful. They help build your story and makes the plot more fascinating for the general audience. And they can even add suspense to your climax. The problem in Transformers though is you got way too many characters you gotta cover, which led to pacing issues. The first hour feels like 25 to 30 minutes, because they whiz by so much of the setup to get to the Autobots. But once they arrived, the pacing felt much more balanced. It wasn't too fast, it wasn't too slow, it was just right. And this problem does stem from too many characters. You got the military subplot, you got the Decepticon subplot,
Where is the cube?
you got Sam trying to get the girl subplot,
I'm a friend of yours. I'm not a romantic friend. Romantic friends do this. I mean, I'm not that.
and you got the hacker subplot.
I'm just a cousin! I'm just a cousin!
Now although these points collide near the climax, some moments feel unearned, and characters feel heavily one-dimensional and rushed. Like, who the fuck is Michaela? All we know from her character is that she has a juvie record, but that's just a line that's used for that very specific scene. She only benefits the plot when she's gotta get Bumblebee out of the kill zone. Michael Bay is one fascinating director. From his camera work to his very obnoxious sense of humor, he's a mixed bag. It makes me question, was Spielberg on a cocaine streak when he said Michael Bay is a perfect director for an IP like Transformers? Or are we as an audience too incompetent to see the diamond behind his work? There's only one right answer. You can tell when it's a Michael Bay movie. The film has a lot of his juice in the mixer, and that is a problem. Michael Bay has a tendency to carry the I can do whatever the fuck I want card. Now, I'm not the advocate for studio interference in a creator's work, but someone should have kept him in check to make sure his style hasn't oversaturated the final product. Because his style mostly works in action comedies, but that doesn't fit the vibe of Transformers at all. Now, nothing wrong with taking a more darker and serious tone, but taking a style that you used in Bad Boys does not fit the story you're trying to tell in Transformers. It's like if Sam Raimi used the same vibe and corny style he used in Spider-Man and used it for Batman. It just doesn't work. They're two completely different stories in tone. Now, that doesn't mean Sam Raimi can never direct a Batman movie, but that specific style doesn't fit the world of Batman. Now in Transformers, it's taken as a serious film, but Michael Bay adds his Bay humor in scenes and the tone just feels so out of place. A great example of this is when the survivors of the base attack run into Scorponic on the desert of Hatar. The scene takes a serious approach. Oh, these men are in serious trouble. This one single Decepticon is completely annihilating the entire village. Then you have Epps making an ass joke. And typical Michael Bay racist humor, he loves to shove in.
Sir, the attitude is not going to speed things up any bit at all.
It feels so damn out of fucking place. Sadly, this only excels in the sequels. Michael also for some reason likes to treat his films as commercials sometimes. Now, he has worked on music videos and commercials before starting in Hollywood, so this most likely could be the reason why. But for some reason, he makes it blatantly obvious. For example, when all the heroes are rallying up, the entire sequence is nothing but flashes of vehicles. That high, crispy, clean saturation and shoving his big camera into the logos. Literally looks like a damn commercial for GM. Than a scene from an actual movie. I want to make myself clear here. The movie is a gem that's completely covered in Michael Bay diarrhea, but not to the extent that it's a 1 to a 3 out of 10. It's a nice premise with an amazing effects, and sadly, it can't surpass a 7. Because of its so out of touch tone, Michael Bay focuses too much on if it's pretty then does the story make sense? And surprisingly, the film still managed to make a profit. Despite its below average score, my viewing is still very positive. The unfortunate part is the franchise will eventually descend into a pit of insanity.